All right, gang, we can get rolling. UFC 195, January 2nd at the MGM Grand. Tickets on sale this Friday. Lawler versus Condit. Go ahead, gang.
Robbie, for you, how did you feel after surviving and thriving in really what was the ultimate fist fight?
I mean, I felt good after the fight. Obviously, my face didn't look great, but my body felt good, my head felt good, so I feel fine.
Did you prove anything to yourself in that fight, or was it just like an affirmation that I'm going to be able to do this throughout? I can do this. This is the type of fight I can win every time.
No, I didn't prove anything to myself. I think I showcased to the world what the kind of fighter I was, but like I knew what I was capable of, and it just happened to come out in that fight.
I've always wondered about that fight because the way I had it scored, I had you ahead, but I was stunned to see the judges' scorecards. What did you take from that?
Yeah, I always think I'm winning though, but I know like the kind of shots that I was landing, I knew he wasn't liking. I was the one coming forward, but obviously they do a great job of maybe knowing how the judges score stuff and like doing certain things, but I just felt like I was landing the big shots, the harder shots, and whatever.
Yeah. What about this test?
I mean, yeah, it's a huge test. It's one of the best fighters in the world, a guy who's been at the top for a long time, comes from a really good camp, who's really tactical, so I have my hands full.
What's life like at ATT? I'm pretty proud, like Jim, now they got a belt, right? Were you the first one?
Yeah, I mean, they have other belts in other organizations, but this was the first UFC belt. Obviously, there's really good training partners there to push me and get me ready, and really good coaches to fine-tune my skills.
There's also a lot of welterweights at ATT. I think there's a lot of people at ATT. There's a lot of welterweights. I know Tyrone is now training in Missouri, right? And you have like other people. I know Jorge Masvidal with belts once. I mean, is it now different? You're walking around with a belt and all these welterweights.
Nah, because I don't walk around with my belt.
No, I know.
I just cruise in there, and I'm the same guy I was before when I was grinding to get that belt. So I think everyone has a lot of respect for the way I treat them and the way I hold myself, and I just go out there and try to get better. That's what everyone in the gym's trying to do. Everyone's trying to get better and push themselves to be better fighters, better humans, and just we're just thriving off each other's victories.
Did you feel going into the fifth round with Rory McDonald that you had to get a finish?
No, but that's always the plan. The plan is to go out there and stop the guy. I just felt like I felt good going into the fifth. I felt like I was going to get a stoppage, but...
What clued you into that? Did you feel him kind of wilting under your pressure or anything like that?
I don't know. I just, I thought I was going to knock him out in the first two. So I guess nothing changed as the fight went on. It was just, I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to knock him out. So I just kept doing what I normally do, which is try to knock somebody out.
Do you recall anything your corner said?
No, not really. Obviously, they tried to get me pumped up, but I felt great going into the fifth. Obviously, my coaches did a great job. My training partners did a good job of getting me ready for that fight, so I was clicking on all cylinders and ready to roar in the fifth.
Did you watch the post-fight speech, with your lip kind of flapping? Because as a spectator, we thought, oh man, what a badass. Just wondering what your thoughts were, if you saw that. Or?
I watched it. I don't know.
I mean, did you realize it was that?
No, I didn't really pay much attention. I felt good, but Dana said quit talking when I was talking to him, so I thought that was hilarious, but I didn't realize how terrible I looked.
Do you feel, that's a great question, I mean, do you feel like you have an unbelievable threshold for pain to be able to tolerate all this stuff?
I don't know. I mean, obviously I've been fighting for a long time. I do something a lot of others don't do, so maybe so. I don't know. I don't have anyone else to judge it on. I only know that I feel good when I fight.
You talked a little bit yesterday about your hand, but could you tell us a little? The fight was postponed. You mentioned injuring your hand in wrestling way back then.
Yeah, I hurt myself a long time ago, obviously, but it got dinged up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know what to say. What do you want? What do you want to know
Just, I
about
mean,
it?
now it's back to 100%. You mentioned
I
your,
mean,
your grip
it's,
strength.
it's
was
ugly. Yeah, it's a weird looking thumb, but yeah, the grip strength is back. It doesn't hurt when it gets hit or anything, so it feels good. It happened a couple, probably like 10 years ago. I like caught a football and it hit it right on like the right spot, and it was sore for like, I don't know, a month and a half. But I just thought it was sprained. I didn't realize it was what it is.
Right. And with this postponement of the fight, getting it pushed back to January, how do you feel about that? I mean, you can't really celebrate the holidays as much as you may have otherwise. Does that bother you?
No, I'm gonna celebrate. I mean, I don't gorge myself anyways. I like to eat and do those things. I'll be training hard and celebrating the holidays with my family.
And Carlos, how do you feel about having the fight in January, having it pushed back? Does that affect your training camp or your plans?
No, not really. Honestly, I think it worked out for the better. And with regards to holidays or anything, I mean, I'm gonna do what I was gonna do anyway.
So kind of building off that last question about that injury, a question for both of you guys. I mean, you've been around for a long time. You're veterans. Like, do you train differently now than when you were, as opposed to when you were younger? I mean, like, do you have to take things into account? Like, do you know your body better? How have you switched things up to avoid those kinds of nagging injuries?
I definitely train different. And I listen to my body. A lot of our strength and conditioning is geared around keeping us together. The training camps are, they're rigorous and they're intense. So, a lot of it is, I'm not necessarily getting injured, but it's like, pull muscles and sore stuff and like tweak, just these little tweaks that we, constantly have to be, addressing so it doesn't spiral out of control to a point where we got to pull out of a fight.
Carlos, did you have any psychological battles getting over your injury, coming back, going into the camp with Thiago Alves?
I wouldn't say that I did. I was positive the whole time. There wasn't a thought. There wasn't a time that I thought that I wasn't going to come back. I knew I was going to come back. This is 12 years into my career. This is my first major injury. So it's like, what, that happens. If you push your body that hard over that many years, it's inevitable.
What are the chances you guys wrestle during your fight? You think there's going to be wrestling, or are you guys just going to be planning on strength?
I'm always planning on doing everything in a fight. I'm not going to not do something because I think Carlos, it's just like you train for everything. My coaches won't allow me not to be sharp with all my tools. So whatever happens, I'll be ready.
Yeah, it's MMA, anything can happen.
But it seems like some of you guys start off wrestling and like towards, as you guys mature in your career, you guys become strikers. Almost like not, at least the majority of the time. Is it easier to be?
Who are you guys? I've always been this guy.
Well, I mean, you were a
striker.
wrestler.
But I was a striker
Yeah,
before
right.
I was a wrestler. So, I've always wanted to knock people out, and I've always used my wrestling to stay on my feet, really, and beat people up. So I think it all depends on what your strengths are as a fighter and trying to stick to them.
Well, you kick a lot more than you used to, right? Or at least you have like memorable kicks.
Yeah, I grew up doing martial arts and doing taekwondo, so I have kicks, and the first part of my career I threw a lot of kicks, and since moving down to American Top Team, that's one of the things they've focused on, is just making sure all my skills are sharp with my knees, my elbows, my kicks, just so that I can do it all if I need to.
Is it easier to be on your feet? Like for some people, is it just easier psychologically to just stay on your feet and throw?
I don't think necessarily. When you're in a clinch or you're wrestling, for me, you don't have to worry about that knockout shot that you don't see coming. Yeah, you might get hit, but it's not that all of a sudden lights out kind of thing. But I'm pretty comfortable in all aspects of the sport competition.
At this point, you guys are both still making consistent improvements in your games despite having been around for a really long time. How do you keep yourself interested in growing, with so much experience under your belt?
My coaches do a great job. I mean, I'm a student of the game. I'm always trying to get better and keep and once your skills are sharpened, then you want to add new things, new wrinkles to. That's MMA. If you're not evolving and getting better, then you're not going to be around long.
It's just like just because a musician writes a great album doesn't mean they don't want to continue to write great music. You still for me this is a creative outlet, and we're putting together, and sometimes it's the same notes or maybe the same techniques or whatever, but we're putting them together in different combinations to solve different problems.
Carlos, did you feel shortchanged by the doctor stoppage against Thiago Alves because you had an impressive performance? Imagine you wanted to get the finish for yourself.
No, I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get in there. I'm trying to get the job done and get out. I'm fine with the doctor stoppage. If it would have gone another round, I was ready to go another round. I was getting rolling, but that's fine. That's fine with me, man.
Obviously, you want.
If you were in the cage fighting Thiago Alves, how quickly would you want to get out of there?
As soon as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
With that said, kind of an ideal scenario to get the title shot based off that win. What was your reaction when you found out you were getting the nod?
Super excited. I've been asking for the shot. With Dana and ever since I fought Thiago. I was stoked. I was elated.
Carlos, when that announcement was made, both Tyron Woodley and Johnny Hendricks kind of complained that they didn't get the title shot. What was your reaction to that?
I understand where they're coming from. I might be bummed out too, but I'm not in charge of them or their careers. I'm in charge of trying to get myself into the big fights and get myself the title shot. And ultimately, it wasn't my decision to be made. I'm going to ask for the title shot, and if they want to be mad at somebody, they can be mad at people that made the decision.
Sure. So I'm curious your take on Robbie's fight with Rory, just because you're one of the very few people who understand what's going on when that fight's. You've been there, you've done that before. Like when you're watching that, you're like, man, I wish I was in there. Or what do you think? What did you think of that fight in general?
I was impressed and I was entertained. The fights like that, when I've been in just those really gritty wars, that's what I live for. I love that stuff. There's a lot of damage that both guys took. So of course I don't envy that. But there's a part of me that I think all of us, the true fighters in the sport, we live for that stuff.
Sure.
You mentioned you're not a matchmaker, but I was curious, do you guys see Tyron Woodley as getting the next title shot, regardless of who wins?
I don't really pay much attention to that kind of stuff and who's getting the next this or that.
Do you think he's earned it, Carlos?
Well, I think so. And I'd like to get another crack at him too. So.
And you also, Johnny Hendricks, you just mentioned. What did you guys think about that? You missing weight and the problems he had. What were your thoughts when you heard the news?
It's a bummer. I don't wish that on anybody. I know that he trains hard, and I'm sure he, was dedicated to his camp. That didn't have his diet right. I don't know what something's not clicking with regards to that part of his game. Which sucks. But I think he'll probably get it together. I don't know.
Does the UFC ever talk to you guys, your fighters, about nutrition? Like at this point, we've seen Dana's made statements about not going too hard in sparring because he's tired of seeing people pull out, for training injuries. Or is the UFC making any comments to you guys about nutrition?
I think they do with certain guys that they think have issues with that, so they don't need to talk to me about diet. I think maybe they would send certain guys and, hey, we got a guy who might help you with that area. I think that's what they do.
You've always conducted yourself as a professional, Robbie. Did you feel that's the responsibility of the fighter to, if they have a big fight coming up, to make weight?
That's I think what everyone thinks.
Have the weight cuts gotten harder for you guys as you've gotten deeper into your careers? Is that more of a strain on your body now?
It's gotten easier for me. I've done it so many times. I think my body just is like, okay, it's time to do this again. Boom, and the weight comes off, I feel good afterwards. And I've also kind of dialed in my method, my protocol. So.
Yeah, same thing with me. The more I do it, the easier it gets. But obviously, the last 2 pounds isn't fun. But I'm good with it.
You guys both fought McDeals, and a lot of people would like to see both of you guys have that rematch. What do you guys think about the whole McDeal situation? And would you guys want to see that as a big money rematch for either of you in the future?
I think it's ridiculous that he's getting punished more than somebody who's using testosterone or EPO. It's like it's not even in the same ball field. So I hope that they overturn his suspension, and I'd like to see him back.
Yeah, I'd love to see him back. Obviously, I think it's ridiculous that he's out for 5 years. I mean, that's pretty much life at this stage in his career. I think they'll overturn it sometime soon, hopefully.
Do you think GSP will be coming back?
Who knows? Are there aliens out there? It's like one of those things where you're like, if he comes back, he comes back, and if he doesn't, he doesn't. I don't stay up late at night thinking about it.
Since you guys have been around for such a long time, did you ever see yourself fighting each other? Or prior to this, did you ever think about a matchup between you two?
I actually never have.
When Robbie came back to the UFC and when he came back down to 170, I mean, he definitely popped up on my radar again. He was at a different weight class for a while, so I didn't really think about it.
For Robbie, your title fights have been, Roy McDonald and Johnny Hendricks. Do you welcome a fresh face to kind of continue on your legacy and your title defenses against someone of Condit's caliber?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to go up against new guys. It's new challenges, but pretty much I just concentrate on myself. How can I get better? How can I push the envelope and create new things and just go out there and try to get better?
You guys are originally supposed to fight next month at what's going to be most likely the biggest show ever. How did you feel originally about getting, the UFC entrusting you with such a responsibility, and then obviously missing out on that opportunity to perform in front of 70,000 people?
Well, I was definitely excited to fight in front of that many people. I wasn't that excited about flying over there, but other than that, to fight in a huge stadium on one of the biggest stages in the world, it would have been awesome.
Any sort of regret?
No, things happen for a reason, and it wasn't time, and they put together a good card, and it's going to be a great show anyways.
I love flying to going somewhere new and fighting. It's like an adventure. I get to not only go fight, go do what I love to do, but in a new place that I've never been to. It's just. I was bummed out, and I was super excited to fight in front of that many people. But like Robbie said, that's the nature of the sport. I'm glad that his injury was fairly minor, and we're able to reschedule. Pretty soon after the original fight.
Were you already in camp for the November fight when injury occurred? Did you have to?
I had started at camp, yeah.
Any surprise visits from Sato?
They're always surprises, aren't they?
How many times have you actually received the drop in?
I don't know. They're at our gym every day pretty much because we have so many fighters. So it's like, hey, you need me today? Oh, nope, your name's not on the list. So we have, 30 plus UFC fighters in the gym, so they're always there.
Has the testing amped up in the past year or two? As far as numbers, is it?
Yeah, I was getting tested pretty much for every fight, doing weeklies at least pretty much all last year. Leading up to the fights, 2 months out, a month out, just knocking on my door, waking me up early.
Hey Carlos, is a fight just a fight to you, or is there severe mental trappings to it being a title fight? Or have you learned, how to approach this fight versus those other experiences you've been through?
I've had some title fights before. I fought a lot of 5-round fights. It's more the logistics and the training that goes into a 5-round fight. Having the championship rounds, and just focusing on the guy. Usually if you're fighting the champion, you're fighting the best guy in the division, the best of the best of the best. So, it's more, training for the opponent, training, just being the best that you can be, than any of that other stuff.
This kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is just part of it. We got to sell the fight, and people got to get people interested, and that's part of it. They don't show up, we don't get paid.
None of us know what GSP and the future holds for GSP and Nick, but have you seen John Jones in the gym lately? And do you think he might be able to return in February? I mean, has he been training?
I've seen him around a little bit, yeah.
I mean, he's been posting some stuff on Instagram, and he's looking like he's obviously in great shape. You've been seeing him? Is he in there sparring at all? Or?
He's been in helping some other guys out with their camps.
You mentioned your responsibility as a fighter to sell the fight. You guys are kind of old school. You let your fighting do the talking for yourselves. What do you think about the current landscape of the UFC where, if you talk big, you get rewarded heavy? You guys don't seem to be on that wagon. You just keep it the way you always have.
I just gotta be myself, whoever you're referring to. I mean, they're doing them, and it's working for them. But what I'm doing is working for me. I'm here. I have a title shot, so
Yeah, I'm just being me, and what's nice about this sport, what's nice about the world is everyone's different. Everyone has a different style. No one wants to see the same person over and over and over again. There's different fighters out there with different ways of promoting fights, and that's what makes the UFC interesting.
Do you think that getting emotional expends energy? Because you do get emotional at the end of the fight. After you win, you let it all out. Leading up to it, you expend. Is it like an energy thing where it's?
Yeah, I'm trying to stay relaxed, trying to cruise in there cool and calm, and just try to take someone out as soon as possible.
Carlos, what were your thoughts on whether GSP should return or not? I assume if that would be like a fight you'd like to have again, maybe.
I'd like to avenge all my losses, of course. I don't think that he will. I don't know. We'll see. He's not around right now, so
right,
it doesn't matter. I mean, the division is super exciting right now. There's a lot of guys that are really hungry, really dangerous, and I feel like anybody could beat anybody on any given night, honestly.
Do you guys, either of you, both of you guys have a propensity for you've been involved in fight of the year caliber fights kind of pretty regularly. I mean, do you feel any type of pressure to live up to that type of expectation?
No, there's no pressure. I'm just gonna go out there and fight the way I fight. I mean, if someone else pushes me, then I'm gonna push back, and if they can, and I think that's what happens usually. They push back, and I keep pushing, and that's how I fight.
It just turns out that way. That's how I fight.
Why do you think it turns out that way?
I don't know. You get two guys in a cage fighting for their livelihood, and if somebody comes across the cage and they're trying to beat me down, they're trying to end my night, they're trying to do me grave bodily harm. It's not going to bode well for them.
Carlos, when you became interim champion, you kind of mentioned that wasn't the real title in your mind, and you wanted to get to that point. Do you still feel that as you're going into this next title shot that you haven't really achieved the championship level in the UFC?
Well, yeah, this is definitely a second chance to become the undisputed UFC champion. Yeah, there's still that asterisk is interim championship. So, yeah, I'm looking to make my belt legitimate.
Both of you guys have teammates that are actually about to fight for a title in November with Valerie and with Holly. Have you seen them prepare for their camps? Have you been able to sort of share any wisdom for them as they prepare?
No, I'm actually, I see her every day, but I don't if she asks me something, I'm there, but she has her camp going on, and actually we train at different times for different weight classes, and so we're we might barely cross paths sometimes in that gym.
I've seen Holly's in there, she's training hard. talked a little bit, but I mean, she's been doing this for as long as I have, so there's not a whole lot that I can share that'd be different. She's fought for, not UFC championships, but she's been a title holder in boxing for a long time, so she's as experienced as I am.
What do you think your chances are?
Ronda's a tough fight for anybody. I think though that Holly's style actually could give Ronda some problems. Holly is very she moves, she sticks and moves and does not and since we've seen her in the octagon, she does not want to be in the clinch. She does not want to be close to her opponent. She wants to strike and get out of there. And I think that could actually pose some problems for Ronda.
We were talking about this before, like about the styles, and for past I don't know how many years, Muay Thai has been like the striking style, and the kicks, switch kicks, and twerking into it. Now you have all these guys coming out, whether it's Conor McGregor or Yair Rodriguez, and are you starting to incorporate or starting to open up or see like more of these Eastern martial art, Taekwondo, karate coming back in, different angles, side kicks, things like that maybe you don't really do in the kind of kickboxing?
I think MMA is like whatever works in a certain situation. And initially, the traditional martial arts didn't work very well because you'd have a wrestler grab them or a jiu-jitsu guy grab them, and all of a sudden they didn't know what to do. But now, if you have that base to be able to defend that, you can utilize some of that stuff, and it's actually pretty effective.
Are you trying to like do different things, like different kicks or kind of more tricky stuff?
I mean, I've learned a lot over the past couple of years, so I do all kinds of stuff. I'm trying to add to my arsenal.
Is there any of that in ATT? Trying to take on the karate stuff?
Not so much. I mean, I grew up doing Taekwondo and those, so I know it. I've seen it. There's guys who have that background, obviously, at our gym. So I don't really flash like spinning stuff that much, but I do practice it just to keep it sharp if it needs to be used.
Robbie, you've always had a fan-friendly style. You've been around for a long time, but as champion, have you seen much of an increase in terms of a fan base responding to you? And after being outside of the UFC all these years, you come back and it's almost like a whole different sport.
Yeah, obviously a lot more eyes out there. A lot of people appreciate the way I come and try to take people out in my fighting style. I get noticed a little bit more. I think when I first started in the UFC and champions, you'd walk around and I'd be with Hughes or Pat Miletich, and like you'd walk all day without anyone noticing who they were. So yeah, a lot has changed.
Dan, why don't we take a break? They're going to bring food in now. First, we'll stand these guys side by side, take pictures.